Jack, that's a good segue into the NILs
Oh, for
with
sure,
Trump and Saban.
for sure.
Did you
But
read about
before
that,
we,
Jeffrey?
I saw a little bit of it, but I didn't. I
Well, I
didn't read
got I
much.
got some figures for you, but the idea was basically Saban had a conversation with Trump about the NIL and how off the rails and crazy, and how it's really, I mean, financially really affecting universities, and really it's unsustainable. I mean, the money they're doling out to these 19, you know, year old kids, and the burden on the universities financially. It's just pull up some of that, Jack. You got that? Want to show
here we
you?
go. Yeah, I think I got it for us. I'll bring it in just a little
I mean,
bit.
it's staggering. These figures are staggering.
Yeah, I'm
Oh
sure they
man,
are. I mean, like we know that some of the numbers have been like overblown, but at the same time, we know that they're getting a lot of money, and this has been going on for a couple years now. So it just over time, like it's just it's gonna create like a
Oh,
deficit.
it's going to kill it. I mean, they got to get
um,
it under control.
4,300.
NIL. All right, here's how many in 2024. This is the basic. This is not an estimate, but it's somewhere near the actual numbers. 4,300 players transferred last year. And if you look at team and the number of players on a roster, that equates to the entire roster of 50 college football programs. Every player on the team transferred. 1 year, 50 programs. Every single player on the team transferred to another program. I mean, staggering. Look at that.
It's nuts.
Staggering. And then the amount of money. Over $1.67 billion swapped hands last year. And then what happens is it's going to who it's okay for the smaller schools. They don't have to pony up as much money and raise as much money. But what it's going to do is it's going to stifle some of the larger schools. I mean, big money programs that got the, the power bucks and stuff like that, the big, donors. It's going to put a strain on them because I mean, how much money do you think they're going to pony up? How many billionaires are out there? And so it's unsustainable. And so now what's unfair about it is now big time programs are having to pay 10 times, 20 times more money than the smaller programs. And so Coach Saban had a conversation, at the Alabama graduation ceremony and saying, something's got to be done because the NCAA is not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering what their cut is. Okay, because they got to have some kind of cut in all this. Because
I feel the
money.
thing that's ridiculous to me is it's like with the portal when people were saying that the portal needed to be open and everybody like should be able to transfer if they want to transfer. It's like, all right, that's fine, because guys are going to want to transfer either for playing time or to get a bigger opportunity at a bigger school. I mean,
Or to get closer to family.
Or closer to family. Those are like your big transfer moves, right? But then it's like you brought NIL into the equation, and it's like you got a bunch of guys transferring for the sake of it that shouldn't be. Nico should never have left Tennessee for UCLA. That is strictly an NIL thing because probably UCLA, you look at their team, it's not very good, right? They just put a lot of bucks into that one guy. Whereas Tennessee, they got a team. They got a bunch of other guys making a ton of money. They did not want to pay Nico any more money, especially when they considered his performance kind of average. And, we're paying all these other guys. So it's like, all right, go ahead. Go to UCLA. They're going to pay you more money because their team kind of sucks. And it's L.A., whatever. But that type of stuff is the problem right there. Typically, when you look at issues going on, like when you look at throughout history, it's always the top that's the major problem. The stuff like Nico and Jaden Rashada and these type of situations and NIL deals is what's really killing it. Because that $1.87 billion, you think about all those transfers, probably the top 50 to 100 players, they make up a lot of that. They make up a lot of that $1.87 billion. It's not these little, I'm going from Toledo to Akron. Yeah, okay. Those NIL deals are minuscule. They don't really make up that big of a difference. I mean, it still matters, but it doesn't matter that much. But it's these big deals. It's these big transfers for no reason other than just money that's killing this stuff. That is the major problem.
And and obviously, if you want to compete, if you want to run with the big dogs, you got to pony up the big money. But then if the university, so what's the university going to have to do? Well, they're going to have to look at their budget. All right. So we're paying all this money out. And so would be in the future be able to expand Bryant-Denny Stadium? No, because we're paying all this money. But one of the unfair factors is the smaller schools are not so much affected by it as the larger schools. Now, there's a reason that we have the elite and that kind of stuff. That's probably where the money is. But over time, it's not going to be sustainable. The one thing that could really put a whatever in it is if instead of being immediately eligible, I mean, you got to sit out like the old days. You just got to sit out. But who's going at this point now where the money's being gobbled up and they've unleashed the beast? I mean, it seems like maybe, Trump is the only one that can, because Southeastern Conference isn't going to do anything. I noticed they had no comment with regard to, they were asked, what do you think about Saban and President Trump and, maybe making an executive order to try to limit and control this and get no comment. So, I mean, it's just unfair. It's not fair to not fair to anybody, the spectator, the fans, the players. Well, I mean, some players are going to benefit, but overall, and then to these big universities and the amount of money they're having to fork out that they shouldn't have to be doing this.
I just laugh because, like, you have so many of these players doing T-shirt deals. Like, you got these, like, T-shirt deals online where people buy their jersey, right? And then after they transfer after a year, it's like, okay, I invested in this player. I bought his jersey. Like, I'm supporting him being the leader of my team. And it's like, oh, no, I'm going over here now. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of the problem. Like, there's no loyalty either. And as a fan, that is awful because the biggest thing that we love in sports is loyalty other than winning. Winning is the most important thing, but then loyalty is right there as well. Like, you love that loyalty of a guy that's at your program for 4 years and he competes and he works his tail off and then he becomes something and has a great career. Like, those type stories, that's gone with the Nikos. Yeah. That is it's history.
I was going to say, now it's filtering down into the high school ranks. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm okay. I thought this was I thought the NCAA this would have been fine with me if they just let, hey, kid, you want to use your name, make some money, whatever, NCAA, they didn't want to allow that to happen in the past. Well, if they want to do their broker their own, whatever, but having a school, having the university to pony up all this money for these individual NIL contracts. And then the university's got to consider, well, how much money are we making off this kid? He's only here a year. We're going to make enough to, off this. So, I mean, it's just, so many questions still yet to be answered and to reconcile.
Well, and there's somebody that's in opposition to Nick Saban's and Donald Trump's take on the NIL.
I'm sure there's opposition, Jackson.
there's a lawyer named Steve Berman. You ever heard of him?
Yeah.
He's not too crazy about the positive executive order at NIL. He is the co-founder of the Hagens Berman law firm, who represents
about probably a dozen, players as their
hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, exactly.
2.78 billion. What? Oh my God! 2.78 billion. What's up, Godfather? How you doing today, good buddy? The law firm says interference from Saban and Trump at this point is unmerited and unhelpful. While he was a coach, Saban initially opposed NIL payment to athletes, pushing to add restrictions and red tape through national legislation to add some sort of control. Berman said in a press release during his time scrutinizing the athlete pay structure, he made tens of millions of dollars, was previously the highest paid coach in college football. Berman went on to further explain why he felt Saban and Trump's involvement was unneeded. Coach Saban's Trump's 11th hour talks of executive orders and other meddling are just more unneeded self-involvement. College athletes are spearheading historic changes. benefiting massively from NIL deals. They don't need this unmerited interference from a coach only seeking to protect the system that made him tens of millions of dollars.
This is where I disagree, though, because that guy, Berman, is looking at, oh, well, Saban made tens of millions, so should the players. I'm not saying the players should make money, but you got to look at it from an historical perspective. In the past, college football was not a moneymaker at all. It was just a sport, right? Same as college basketball. You as a player, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting a scholarship to play at this school. That's good enough.
It was never intended to be professional. It was never pretended. It was never created to be hiring professionals. Mm-hmm. And now you're going to have a situation where players are going to make more than the coaches.
But the thing is, though, is that that's what people don't understand. In the past, you just went to the school, you got a scholarship, and that was good enough. And if you made it to the pros, like Oscar Robertson and some of those guys back in the 60s in the NBA were working second jobs because they barely got paid anything because the money wasn't there. It's not Nick Saban's fault that he made tens of millions of dollars. It's not his fault. The reason why he did is because football started becoming a money-making sport. It started happening in the 80s and 90s. Prior to that, it was not because baseball was America's sport. It wasn't football at all. Football was not seen as that. In the 40s, people laughed at the dropouts that played football. They're like, what's wrong with these people? They're hitting each other when they could be defending our country. Times changed. And when football became a moneymaker, the coaches started getting bigger contracts. And then the excuse that, oh, well, if these coaches are making big money, so should the players. Mm-hmm. It would have never even been an argument if college football had never got to the point where we have these 100,000 stadiums where people showing up every set. People are obsessed by college football. There's nothing wrong with that. We love college football. That's why we're here talking about it. But the thing is, it got to the point where it was so valuable. It was worth so much that is where this whole argument that the players should be paid. It never was an argument before when the coaches were probably making $20,000 a year back in the 50s, and the players just were happy to get a darn scholarship. Now it's become everything. The coach is making tens of million a year. The players now making tens of million a year because the money's there. That's what people don't understand. It used to never be a problem before. Now it is because there's money. When there's money, people want to get paid.
Yeah. And I'll tell you a story backing up what you were saying. You know, my father-in-law, Wayne Trimble, played at Alabama. And he told me, because we've talked about this and everything and many, many times. But he said, heck, when he was excited to sign with Alabama because that's when, the dorm, Brian, the dorm there. What's the name of it? I forgot. But anyway, he said he went from, home and he got to the university there at their new dorm they built and they had air conditioning. He said, I was just glad to have a bedroom that had air conditioning. That's worth it to me. And now they all, they want their endorsements in their little, whatever, million, hundreds, thousands, whatever. And it was innocent back then. It's no longer innocent.
Yeah, and the players could be on the campus too, and they weren't celebrities. They were just guys. They were just random dudes that happened to play on the sports team, and they just were normal citizens. And now it's become like celebrity-fied. I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like it's just got to the point where they're like the most popular people in their state now. They're more important than actors. It's insane. And then there's no loyalty because they transfer. So it's like, what's the point? You see, like Husker's comment, would Saban have been able to retain his players in his first few seasons if he had to do it in this era? That is what Berman fails to understand. That is why Nick Saban opposed NIL. The reason that he opposed NIL is not because he's a greedy little dude and he didn't want the players getting money either. No, it's because of the fact that he knew that when this happened, that he was not going to be able to keep players anymore. Mm-hmm. That's why. Because before, it was just like, come play for Bama. We win, and you're gonna go pro if you do what what we tell you to do, like our coaches. You're gonna go pro. You know what I'm saying? Like it's good enough, right? But then with all this stuff, it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna really be able to coach the same way anymore because they're gonna leave. All that kind of stuff. It's like that is why Saban didn't want NIL. And nothing to do with that he didn't want him to get paid. It's because he knew that he wasn't going to be able to basically win at the level he just was.
Yeah, and developing players. And I saw, here we go, a new term, general managers. I saw where Shaq is going to be the new general manager of what? Sacramento State.
Sacramento State. I guess that's the future Pac-12
managers. the innocence is. I mean, and it goes back to that old saying: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They should have tweaked it, but I mean, they've gone. I mean, just off the.
Somebody needs to tell Sacramento State that this isn't the '90s anymore, where you got where it's. Oh man, I forget that Shaq movie where he's like a genie or something. But anyway,
players have agents in high school.
You didn't watch that movie, did you, Jack? Don't tell me you watched that.
I saw the video cover of it.
I didn't watch that. Shaq as a genie. What
that was it. It's like somebody had like a VHS cover of it, but that was it. It was like, oh my god! Like, I'm glad I didn't watch that movie. But
what were you going to say, Jeffrey?
I was saying players have agents in high school now.
Yeah,
I mean, they have agents in high school. They'll even start doing it in middle school. No innocence. Like these guys. I mean. Some of these players, like, it's so sad. Used to, it's like, okay, you're a middle schooler. You're playing football. You're playing basketball. And you just hope deep down, like, man, it'd be great if I could make a college team.
It's like
it would be amazing. And then now you see it where it's like, okay, I got to do everything that I possibly can to be good, because if I'm not going to be good, then I'm not going to make NIL, and I'm not going to go.
Yeah. And what's going to happen is
all these
players
change why they play the game.
Coach, do you remember that Gunsmoke episode where there's like the young man that's like becoming like this gunfire because of like a newspaper writer? I think that's what it's kind of like with these middle school players that are being recruited at as high as 6th, 7th grade. They got like the sleazy newspaper writer with the cigar and the nice two-pan suit or whatever. Just like telling them of like Paris, France, Italy, and everything. It's like,
in my opinion, for the love of the game, that statement right there, for the love of the game, that's basically dead. Players are not playing these sports anymore for the love of the game, and that is the problem.
Innocent high school kids, and I'll tell you another thing too is that now a lot of these kids, they're because you have. Alabama High School Athletics Association, they're not going to let these kids play for money unless they make a whatever. So now a lot of these kids are going to go to, these IMG academies and get their agents and all this other kind of stuff. And so now it's going to trickle down, watch and see to high school football, where in the South on Friday nights, half the small town communities, we were just talking about 5. Where do you go? You go to the ball games. But now the great players are going to be at some whatever IMG or whatever the next.
They're not like going to be no one there. No one's going to want to watch the game.
Yeah, so
teams are no good.
What they're doing is they're killing the whole thing. It's going to trickle down to high school, and basketball, baseball, football, and here we go. I mean, you're just killing it. And then all of us are going to be, we've grown up all our lives watching and loving it and stuff like that. But then now you can be turned off because it's just disgusting.
Tons of people are turned off, but they still watch it. Because, so many people in America love football so much that no matter what happens, it could get even crummier than this, and they're still going to watch it. Heck, we're probably all still going to watch it. It's because you love the game too much, and they know that. These people know that, hey, American people are going to watch this stuff no matter how crummy it gets. Because, most of them, they work all week, and then they just want to sit down on Saturday, drink beer, and watch football. So, that's the thing. But there's nobody's being held accountable at all for any of these decisions.
Yeah, that's where Saban and Trump, at least somebody's bringing the issue out there, and maybe
just say that everyone just decided not to show up anymore to the games, right? Just say that the football stadiums were empty. Ohio State, Michigan, Bama, they're all empty. People just protest and are like, you know what? All this is ridiculous. This is trash. It needs to be fixed. Regulations. This is a problem. No one goes to the games. You know what? They do it. They would do it because of the fact people aren't going anymore. But as long as people show up to the games and the tickets are the sellout crowds, everybody's still talking about college football on social media, even if they're talking about how crummy it is, bad press is still press. It's still press, and it still makes college football money if people are talking about it and watching it. And that's why nothing's really going to get done unless something happens here with Trump Saban. If not, it's not going to happen because of the fact they're looking at it, well, everyone's mad about it, but they're still watching it.
Yeah, but here's your next caveat. Why another reason why it's unsustainable is the fact that in order to generate the revenue, ticket prices are going to have to go up. How much are you going to pay for a ticket? And they're already outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how much they're going to generate the revenue? They're going to have to raise ticket prices.
I mean, the product sucks. That's why a lot of people like the UFL and the spring leagues, the USFL, XFL, when before they merge, because the tickets are cheap. You want to go watch a crummy football game, you can watch a crummy football game for like $10, $15. Whereas you go to Ohio State and you're paying hundreds of dollars, even if they're playing a bad team. Like, who in their right mind wants to see Ohio State blow out Akron 60-0 for $600? I have no idea. I mean,
that's a waste of money.
I really don't get that, but teach their own.
I bet it's like I'd better get a return on that investment. I better be meeting somebody for $600, like something like I don't care. Like I better be getting like phone numbers or something.
And the diesel freak.
Yeah. How many people are going to be able to afford season tickets? Like, I mean, most of the money that a lot of the universities are making revenue is season tickets. Well, now you're going to have to raise the prices to stay competitive. Well, how many people are going to be able to afford season tickets anymore?
Yeah.
So we'll figure. Hopefully,
all across the board, it's just hurting everybody. It's hurting everything.
And everybody knows it, and the NCAA still does nothing about it. They have not stepped up. They've just totally just removed themselves and just whatever. All this.
It's like America before the Civil War. No one wanted to do anything, so then the Civil War happened.
Yeah.
I mean, not suggesting that, obviously, like no Civil War over football, like please, but still, like you don't do anything about problems, it escalates, it gets worse, and eventually it's going to bubble over. That's typically how stuff happens. So if this stuff doesn't get fixed, it's going to bubble over.
Wow. 30,000 for the Ivory Club. Wow. Yikes.
Yeah. Price yourself out of,
Oh, man.
In Alabama, there's not that many elites. There's some, but I don't know.
I mean, a lot of people in Alabama, I mean, they love their team a lot, and they love supporting the Crimson Tide, but like they're not gonna be able to go anymore if the prices get too bad. It's like not gonna happen.
Yeah.